When my girlfriend was assaulted and left pregnant, I faced the hardest decision of my life. I'd been abroad when it happened, so I knew the baby wasn't mine. At first, she agreed to end the pregnancy, but one call with her devout Catholic mother changed everything. Suddenly, she was convinced she had to keep it, insisting it wasn't the baby's fault. That was the moment I drew a line in fire. If she kept the baby, I would walk away. My ultimatum shattered her, and the fallout nearly destroyed us both. Her mother disowned her, blocked her number, and even called the police on me, accusing me of holding her captive. But in the end, she chose me. We survived betrayal, grief, and her family's wrath. And through it all, I learned that sometimes love doesn't come from where you're born. It comes from the person who refuses to leave when everyone else does. That's the story I'm about to tell you, and it begins right here. I can't raise the baby of the man who hurt you. That was the sentence that shattered her. My girlfriend's face crumpled and she clutched her stomach like I'd punched her. She begged me not to make her choose, but I told her she already had to. Me, male, 28 years old. Girlfriend, female, 26 years old. 2 months earlier, she had been assaulted in a park. Brutal, terrifying, the kind of night that changes you forever. I wasn't there. I was abroad on a work contract. But when I came home early and she told me, I wanted to drag her to the police, to the hospital, anywhere. She refused. She wouldn't report it, wouldn't even let me clean the dirt out of her scraped palms. So I did the only thing left. I stayed. I stayed when she lay on the couch for hours staring at the ceiling. I stayed when she threw up her breakfast every morning and whispered that she couldn't keep living like this. I stayed when she screamed into her pillow until her voice was gone, and all I could do was sit outside the bedroom door and whisper, "I'm here. I'm not leaving." And then, the pregnancy test. Positive. My chest dropped straight through the floor. It couldn't be mine. I'd been gone for 2 months. She said it herself, choking on the words. "It's the rapist's baby." The room went silent, except for the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second loud enough to split my skull. At first, she nodded with me. Yes, abortion. Yes, we take back control. But then came the phone call to her mother, her Catholic, strict, Bible-thumping mother. When she hung up, her eyes were wild, and she said, "It's not the baby's fault. I can't kill it." I froze. What? "It's not the baby's fault," she repeated, gripping the edge of the kitchen counter so tightly her knuckles went white. "It's innocent." And that's when the words tore out of me like fire. You keep the baby, I leave. You end it, I stay. That's it. Her hands trembled, her lips parted like she couldn't believe what I had said. Then came the tears, hot and endless. "Please, please don't make me choose." But I did. That night, while she sobbed in the bedroom and I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan spinning uselessly, one question burned in my mind like acid. Do you think I acted out of fear or courage? Because either way, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. The phone rang 3 nights later. Her name lit up the screen. When I answered, all I heard was sobbing, the kind that makes your chest ache just listening to it. She said if I kill this baby, I'm no longer her daughter. She choked out. Her mother. That same mother who sat in the front pew every Sunday, who posted Bible verses on Facebook with pastel flower backgrounds, who never missed a chance to remind her daughter that family is everything. Now she was telling her, family is everything unless you abort. I pressed the phone so hard against my ear it hurt. She said that. She said I'd go to hell, that she wouldn't even come to my funeral if I died tomorrow. My blood ran cold. I paced the living room, bare feet sticking to the hardwood floor. "She's manipulating you." Her voice cracked. "No, she's my mother. She loves me." "Does she?" I snapped before I could stop myself. "Or does she just love controlling you?" The silence on the other end felt like a knife. I knew I'd cut her, but I couldn't take it back. Finally, she whispered, "I told her I want to end it." She blocked me. She said I don't exist anymore. I stopped pacing. My hand fell to my side, phone nearly slipping from my fingers. She blocked you? Yes, she said, voice breaking. She really did it. I don't have a mother anymore. The air in the room felt heavy, like it was pressing down on my chest. And then she said something that gutted me. You're the best thing this ever happened to me. If I have you, I can get through this. I closed my eyes, leaned against the wall. My heart was hammering so loud I thought she'd hear it through the phone. But even as she clung to me, one thought crept in, ugly and poisonous. Do you think betrayal hurts more than cheating? Because it wasn't her who betrayed me. It was her mother. The woman who gave her life had just twisted the knife in her back, abandoning her in the darkest moment. And yet, my girlfriend still defended her, still cried for her. It made me wonder, was blood really thicker than love? Or was family just the first betrayal we ever learn? The knock came on a Saturday afternoon, loud, sharp, the kind of knock that makes your stomach drop before you even move. I opened the door, and there they were, 2 police officers, uniforms crisp, hands resting near their belts. Sir, one of them said, we've had a report that your girlfriend may be in danger. My throat went dry. What? No. We'll need to speak with her. They stepped inside before I could argue, their boots squeaking against the entry rug I'd bought from IKEA last month. She came out of the bedroom, hair messy, face pale. The officers pulled her aside, their voices low but firm. Are you being held against your will? No. Is he hurting you? No. Are you safe here? Yes. I stood frozen, jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. Every no cut me open and stitched me back up again. Relief and rage tangled inside me until I could hardly breathe. When they finally left, giving me a look that said, "We'll be watching you," I slammed the door shut so hard the walls shook. She whispered, "It was my mom. I know it was her." I stared at her, chest heaving. She called the police on me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. She thinks you're controlling me. She thinks you're dangerous. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Dangerous? I'm the only reason you've made it this far. I paced the living room, fingers twitching with the urge to throw something. I'm pressing charges. I don't care if she's your mother. This is harassment. She grabbed my arm, voice trembling. Please don't. It'll only make things worse. Please. I looked at her, eyes red, hands shaking, and swallowed my fury. Instead, I cracked a crooked smile, because if I didn't, I'd explode. If you're going to hell for abortion, save me a seat. We'll roast marshmallows together. She let out a wet laugh, half sob, half relief. You're insane. I kissed her forehead, but my fist still shook, because while she laughed, I felt the ground shifting beneath us. And a question clawed at me, refusing to let go. Is family pressure the same as love? If it was, why did it feel more like a noose tightening around her neck? And if it wasn't, why did she still crave her mother's approval like oxygen? The truth was clear. Her mother wasn't going to stop. And the next move, it would be worse. 3 weeks later, the waiting room smelled like bleach and stale coffee. I sat in a stiff plastic chair, staring at a stack of old magazines on the table. A cover of Better Homes and Gardens smiled up at me, mocking me with pictures of manicured lawns and lemon pies, as if anyone in this place gave a damn about recipes or rose bushes. My knee bounced so hard the chair rattled. The receptionist kept glancing at me like I was a bomb about to go off. Maybe I was. Behind the doors, she was ending it, ending the pregnancy, ending months of torment. I thought about calling her mother, just once, just to scream down the line, "Look what you've done! Look what you forced her to suffer through!" But I didn't, because the truth was, her mother didn't care. She cared about rules, reputation, religion, not her daughter's sanity. When the nurse finally wheeled her out, her skin was pale, lips dry, but her eyes, God, her eyes looked lighter. She whispered, "It feels like I can finally breathe again." I stood, hands shaking, and kissed the top of her head. We drove home in silence, the car filled with the faint antiseptic smell from the hospital gown she still wore. At a red light, she reached for my hand and squeezed, and for the first time in months, I felt like we were choosing each other again. That weekend, we went camping. The tent smelled of damp nylon. The fire popped and hissed as sparks danced into the night. She wrapped her hands around a chipped metal mug of cocoa, steam curling into the cold air, and sighed like she hadn't in months. "Do you think," she asked softly, staring into the flames, "that I'm stronger now? That surviving this means I'm different?" I watched the firelight flicker across her face and thought about scars. How some wounds heal into toughened skin, while others never stop aching. Can tragedy ever make someone stronger? "I think you're steel now," I said, "bent but unbroken." She smiled faintly, but I saw the shadow behind it. Strength didn't erase the grief. That night, in the tent, she cried quietly into my chest. I stroked her hair and whispered that I loved her, but my mind kept circling back to one truth. Her mother wasn't finished. Because family like that, they don't just walk away. They reload. And when the phone rang the next week, I knew it was her. Her mother. Ready for war. The call came just after dinner. We were washing dishes, the smell of garlic still hanging in the air, when her phone lit up with a name we hadn't seen in weeks. Mom. She froze, plate in hand, water dripping onto the counter. "Answer it," I said. My voice came out flat, harder than I intended. She swiped and put the phone to her ear. I could hear her mother's voice through the speaker, sharp and cold. "Did you do it?" Her shoulders stiffened. "Mom." "Don't mom me. Did you kill that baby?" I ripped the plate from her hand and grabbed the phone. "Yes," I said. My voice was calm, deliberate. It went perfectly. For half a second there was silence, and then screaming. She cursed me, spat words I didn't know could come out of a woman who spent her Sundays with rosary beads in hand. Murderer, devil, disgrace. I held the phone away from my ear and stared at the kitchen wall, the faint smell of garlic mixing with the venom pouring from the speaker. When she paused to breathe, I leaned in and said 4 words. "How Jesus of you." Click. The line went dead. The silence that followed was heavy. My girlfriend stared at me, wide-eyed, then let out a shaky laugh that broke into tears. I wrapped her in my arms as she sobbed, whispering, "It's over. She'll never forgive me." I stroked her back, my chest tight. Maybe forgiveness isn't worth begging for. But deep inside, I felt the ripple of something irreversible. Because when family betrays you, it's not just rejection, it's annihilation. It doesn't just leave scars, it rewrites the story of who you are. Later that night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling fan spinning shadows across the room. I replayed the conversation again and again, every curse, every insult. And I asked myself the question that wouldn't let me sleep. Would you have defended yourself the same way? Would you have stood your ground, thrown her own religion back in her face? Or would you have stayed silent, kept the peace, let her mother keep shredding her to pieces? Because silence might have saved the bridge, but me? I'd set it on fire. And somewhere in the ashes, I wondered if I'd burned something we could never rebuild. We tried to pretend life was normal again. Grocery runs, Netflix marathons, Sunday laundry with the smell of detergent filling the apartment. For a while, it almost worked. But the cracks were there, sharp and visible if you looked closely enough. At a barbecue, my buddy Marcus pulled me aside while everyone else laughed around the grill. Smoke curled into the sky, burgers hissing, kids running across the yard. "Man," he said quietly, beer bottle dangling from his fingers. "She looks happier, but you look like you're carrying bricks in your chest." I forced a laugh and took a bite of a burnt hot dog, chewing until it tasted like ash. "I'm fine." But later that night, lying in bed, I realized he was right. She was lighter. She smiled more. But me? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the police at my door. I heard her mother's voice, shrill and venomous. I replayed the ultimatum I had thrown down, wondering if I had saved her or scarred her. The answer came a week later. She woke up screaming, nails digging into my arm. I shook her awake, heart pounding. "I dreamed about her," she whispered, shaken. "She was standing over a crib, rocking a baby, rocking at it, talking to it, like none of this ever happened." I held her tight, but inside I was unraveling, because her mother wasn't here, but she still haunted us. And as I stroked her hair, one question kept echoing in my skull like a siren. Do you think I proved a point or burned a bridge? Because my ultimatum, the line I drew in fire, had forced her to choose. It might have saved her sanity, but it had also destroyed her family. I didn't say that out loud. I just whispered, "I'm here. I've got you." But in the silence that followed, I couldn't shake the image of her mother standing at that crib, smiling at a child that would never exist. And I wondered if my girlfriend would ever stop seeing ghosts. One evening, we sat on the porch with the summer heat still clinging to the air. She lit a cigarette, the smoke curling into the dusk like ghosts we couldn't get rid of. She took a drag, exhaled slowly, and said, "I used to think my mom was my anchor, the one thing keeping me steady. Now, I think she was the chain dragging me under." The words hung between us, heavy and bitter. I didn't know what to say, so I told her about my own ghosts. I told her about my father walking out when I was 10, how he slammed a door so hard the picture frames rattled, how my grandmother gripped my shoulder that night and hissed, "He left because you're weak." I told her about how for years I chased approval that would never come. Report cards, sports trophies, promotions, none of it filled the hole he left. And every time my grandmother's voice echoed in my head, I felt like that little boy again, waiting for someone who was never coming back. She looked at me, eyes glistening in the porch light. "So we're both orphans now." We laughed, but the sound was hollow, brittle, because that was the truth neither of us wanted to admit. Orphans never stop searching for home. She leaned her head on my shoulder, smoke drifting past us, and whispered, "Maybe we build one together, out of ashes." I wrapped my arm around her and thought about Marcus's words, about the cracks I couldn't hide. Maybe love wasn't about fixing each other. Maybe it was about holding on, even when the pieces didn't fit perfectly anymore. But as she stubbed out the cigarette and curled into me, I felt a chill despite the warm night, because I knew orphaned hearts don't just heal, they harden. And I couldn't stop wondering, would ours harden together like steel forged in fire? Or would the cracks split us apart when the weight got too heavy? The cicadas droned in the background, a steady hum against the silence, and for the first time, I realized something terrifying. Even if her mother never called again, even if we never saw her face or heard her voice, the damage was permanent. Because when family betrays you, it's not the goodbye that hurts the most. It's the echo of the voice you'll never stop straining to hear. Months passed, seasons shifted. The air turned cooler, leaves burned orange, and somehow, so did we. We hiked trails where pine needles crunched under our boots. We went camping again, this time laughing at how badly I burned the marshmallows. She teased me, cocoa steaming in her hands, and for once, her smile wasn't forced. It was real. We even joked about adopting a dog, a big, goofy mutt that would slobber all over the furniture. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we were allowed to look forward again. But the silence never left. Her phone never buzzed with her mother's name. No apologies, no olive branches, just a cold, empty space where family used to be. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at her phone anyway, thumb hovering like she wanted to dial. And I'd bite my tongue because I knew what she was thinking. What if today's the day she forgives me? She never did. And me, I still hear whispers, from strangers online, from voices in my own head, that I was cruel, manipulative, that I forced her hand, that I turned a tragedy into an ultimatum. But then, there are the moments when she curls into me at night, presses her forehead against mine, and whispers, "Thank you for saving me." And in those moments, the doubt's quiet. Because the truth is, I didn't save her. We saved each other. We clawed our way out of a nightmare together, bloody and bruised, but still standing. And that's when it hit me. Clear, sharp, and unshakable. She never needed their approval. Not her mother's, not the church's, not anyone's. She only needed my hand in hers. I kissed her temple and whispered, "We'll be okay, just you and me." And for the first time since the night everything changed, I actually believed it. The scars will never leave us. The ghosts will always linger. But maybe that's what survival looks like, learning to live with the echoes. And maybe love isn't about erasing the past. Maybe it's about building a future on top of it, shaky as it may be. Because when she smiled that night, firelight flickering in her eyes, I knew the truth. We hadn't just survived. We had chosen each other, again and again, no matter the cost. And that's when I realized she never needed their approval, only my hand in hers.